Hello and welcome back to the Docker course of CodeMaven. My name is Gabor Szabo, and in this episode we are going to learn about mounting a host directory into your Docker container. Why would you want to do this? Well, it's very useful for development. So you have everything that you need to run the application inside the Docker image already, but your actual application code is not there yet because you're working on it. So you're working on it on your host system when you already have an IDE installed and all kind of other nice things. So that's very useful to mount the external directory and to be able to access the files from them. Other cases, when you're actually running a Docker container in production and you would like to use the files that are not in the not inside the image originally, because they are more persistent than the actually container that you're running. You might have several containers running, they all need to access the same external file, or for various other, or just because you're going to replace your Docker container later on, the application itself, but the certain files, certain configuration files, other things are outside on your host system. So there are a couple of reasons why to do this. And this is something that you can't configure inside a Docker file, because if you would, then that would be sort of a security risk, because that would mean that if I can create a Docker image that automatically mounts some external directory, give it to you, and then my Docker image has instanced access to some of your files, which is not really a nice thing. So basically you need to do it when you're running the Docker container, so the user needs to do it. And how do you do this? This is pretty straightforward. You just use the -v flag, and then you give it the path in your host directory and the path inside the container itself. So the pwd in Linux is print working directory. It prints out the name of the current working directory where you're located, and then this dollar and the parentheses just wraps them, so it won't be printed to the screen, but instead it will be used. So basically we have two passes. The first is a path to the directory that you would like to mount, and in very common cases this is the directory where the Docker file is, or when you run the thing, but you can give it any path here, okay? And then inside, this is on the other side, is what's internally, so internally in the container itself. So let's switch to the screen, to the terminal, to see how it works. And here I am inside one of the directories, one of the Docker images. What I already did here, I just run it, Docker build. So I built a Docker image from the Docker file that we have here. This is just the hello world, and then I can run it, and let's run this way. So Docker, I just run it in interactive mode, so I tell it to run bash, and gave it the -it flag. So now I can look what's in the /opt directory, and you can see it's empty, because that's what's inside the container. Okay, so let's leave this, and let's see what's inside in this directory. So in this directory, if I list it, there's only a single file, which is a Docker file. Okay, and now is the time that we mount the directory. So we say -v, and then we say get the path to the current working directory. So I don't need to care when I cd to some other place. That's why I use this, and mount it to the /opt. So match it to connect it to the /opt inside the container, and then I run it. So now I can again got into the container. If I run -ls-l or on the /opt directory, now I can see that Docker file that's actually on my disk. And I could also, I guess, I can also run cat just to see the content, okay? And I can do also touch opt hello, just some name. So touch, in case you're not familiar with, in Linux, it changes the timestamp of an existing file, but if the file didn't exist, then it creates the file. So now you can see that it's empty, it's going to be empty. If I run the ls-lopt, then from inside the container we can see that the file is there. If I leave the container, then I can run ls-l, and here I can see that the file exists. And right, that's it. So now we could now you know that you can how you can mount a directory. Now just to show you, this pwd is not need to be pwd. So let's say slash home Gabor whatever I have work directory, yes, and then inside the slides. So just to some path. Okay, so this is the path on my disk to where all the slides of all of my course materials can be found. And this is how we mount it. And now if I type in -ls-l/opt, then you can see the list of all of the directories. So inside this now you have a Docker directory, and inside there is the examples, and inside there is the hello world, and that's where we go back to where we started from. Okay, so that's it. I don't think that everything else here. So this is just the basic idea: host container, -v host container, and that's how you map something. So thank you for watching, and go ahead and try this.